What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA. All right, everybody, let's chop back into Ironheart. Sitting at 50% right now on Rotten Tomatoes, which is probably 30 percentage points too high, in my opinion, for the audience score. Yeah, this show is just absolutely dreadful. I'm starting to dub this show Black Grief Porn. All right, or Black Grief on steroids. That's basically what this entire show is. All right, it's meant to be an examination of Black grief from every possible angle you can look at it. All right, how else can we look at Black grief? That's basically what this show is. All right, let's see. You got the classic drive-by shooting. All right, that takes out the main character's loved ones. All right, you got that. Let's see. Then you got some little podunk, little orphan Annie kid walking around with a fucking wagon, slanging shit out of a wagon. I have never seen this kid in the hood. Nowhere. Only in Black grief shows do I see some little kid in a wagon slanging shit. Where are his parents? Nobody knows. How come his parents can't take care of him? Nobody knows. But he's always 12 years old and he's always wandering the hood with a fucking wagon. That's every Black grief show. Go watch them. I'm telling you. All right. Then, of course, you got all the black magic and all the witchcraft. You know, even though I don't know a single black person that dabbles in black magic and witchcraft all hard like that. You know, I know there are some out there, but I don't know any of them personally. All right. But they exist. Nevertheless, they always exist in the Black grief show. And then finally, of course, you got your main character, Riri Williams in this case, the quote unquote intelligent character that is so smart she gets a grant to MIT. You know, like, wow, you got a full ride, a full grant to MIT to go study. But of course, she gets kicked out of MIT. Why? Because of poor performances and cheating. You know, Black grief. You know, I can't deal with all the problems I'm dealing with, so I got to cheat. You know, and then when she comes home, she joins a criminal organization. That is Black grief in a nutshell. And of course, we wrap it all up with Riri Williams making a deal with the fucking devil. Holy shit. How do you get more Black grief than Ironheart? How? You don't. And people are actually out here sitting around talking about a season 2. Bruh, y'all kidding me? Are you kidding me? Season 2, Marvel's Ironheart likely canceled. No season 2, hence writer. You damn right. Why would anybody want to watch more of this shit? But DA, we got to watch the Riri Williams redemption arc. We got to see how it all plays out. See the comeback. No, there's no comeback. All right? There is no comeback for this character. This character is a villain, straight up evil, through and through. You might as well just lean into it now, Marvel. All right? She just made a deal with the devil. Lean all the way in. Have her, like, be the sub-boss to Doctor Doom. They got to defeat Riri Williams before they get to Doctor Doom. Just lean into it, all right? Because at this point, there's no redeeming this character. Shit, I would rather watch, what's his name? Zeke Stain. All right? I would rather watch the Zeke Stain redemption arc at this point. You can actually understand where Zeke Stain is coming from, how he ended up becoming a villain, all right? He's the son of a villain, okay? The OG MCU villain, no less. You know, he had all of that equipment and all of that technology at his disposal. You know, he probably started cooking up some ideas because he wanted to get away from his father's legacy. Remember, he changes his name to get away from his father's legacy, so he at least has some self-awareness, all right? The rest of the world may not have known anything about Obadiah Stane, but Zeke knew, and Zeke felt like he had to do some good, you know? And so I could actually rock with, hey, let's see if Zeke Stain can redeem himself other than Riri Williams. Riri Williams, nobody cares, man. She was a criminal from the get-go, all right? She was a liar. She was a cheater. And at no point in time did she try to perform any selfless, heroic acts in the show. None. Riri Williams from the very beginning is a selfish asshole, all right? And then she ends up using all her intelligence and all her resources to join a criminal organization instead of, you know, doing one of the dozens upon dozens of random ideas that assholes out there all over the world watching the show came up with. Hey, how come she just don't sell a line of code to somebody and make money off of that? Why doesn't she just invent something and just make money off of that and sell that and make money off of it? Nope. She got to do crime. She's a criminal. Because of poor little black girl, Black grief. That's why I can't stand shows like this, man. Because instead of you making the intelligent, smart, legal decision, you decide to pour your life into crime. Because that's the only way out. And then to cap it all off, she makes a deal with the fucking devil. And people are out here absolutely justifying that decision.
Mephisto has finally arrived to the MCU and it is about to go fucking down. This man simply asked her, your wildest desires, I can give them to you. The devil tells you that every time. You're supposed to resist that shit. And she was so desperate and in grief and in pain that she couldn't even handle, she can't even handle saying no.
Now, while I don't like the fact that Riri had to make a deal with Mephisto or a deal with the devil, in order to get her best friend back, you have to understand the events that took place in order to get her to that point. Riri was a genius at a young age, and being underprivileged made her a prime target for Mephisto. Now, Mephisto is a all-powerful being, and I'm pretty sure that he can cause a lot of things to happen that would work into his favor. For example, Riri's stepdad and her best friend dying. And Riri doesn't have the means like Tony Stark did to just create a suit whenever she wants. She had to go through alternative methods in order to be able to fulfill the dream that she wanted, but it was never enough. Now, when we get into the events of the TV series, we have to think the way that her AI manifested into her best friend, it almost felt like it was too good to be true. Like, out of everything that could have been created, her best friend? That, on top of the fact that she added magic to the suit just so she can get unlimited energy, it caused her to lose her best friend again. Mind you, this is somebody who's been having panic attacks the entire season. So when an all-powerful being comes to you and tells you that, hey, I root for people like you, I understand where you've been, and I've seen people like you, and if you work with me, I can give you everything that you want and desire.
I'm going to cut this criticism off at the knees because I no doubt know that it is coming. Calling Riri Williams a supervillain because she made a deal with Mephisto means you must also call Tony Stark a supervillain for creating Ultron.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Again illustrates the very real similarities that exist between Tony Stark and Riri Williams. For Tony, I think Ultron is his deal with the devil moment. The moment where, after growing so much as a person, he falls back on his fears and anxieties, and it causes him to make a rash judgment call that he comes to soon regret. That's exactly what's happening with Riri in these final 3 episodes. She goes through a real change, real development. She learns to let people in, to ask for help, to admit that she's not okay. Things are too much. Everything's bearing down on her. After fighting the Blood Siblings and Clown and surviving almost getting hit by a truck from Slug, Riri just throws up. It kind of is a good illustration of like how much everything is affecting her, because like a lot is happening all at once. Enter Ezekiel fucking Stain, superpowered, another consequence of Riri's bad decision making, and she totally falls apart. My guy is feral and Riri is terrified. All of this brings Riri down to her lowest moment, where her stepfather once told her she needs to build herself back up. And that's what she does. Not only does she build a new suit, she forges new relationships with her friends. She's closer with her mom, closer with Xavier. She even learns to accept Natalie for who she is. A memory, yes, but her friend, and not a ghost haunting her. But immediately after that happens, Natalie dies again in the garage with Riri unable to do anything. That's why this scene happens. It's not Riri just willy-nilly throwing her soul away to Mephisto to get her friend back. Riri did grow. She did learn to process her grief. But then her grief appeared all over again, immediately! Riri Williams is a flawed character. She makes mistakes, she does questionable things, but that doesn't make her a supervillain. It makes her human.
You see the poor little black girl, she didn't know. She didn't know, man. That's how the devil gets you. The devil plays on your emotions, your poor grief, all the heartache, all the struggle. You've been through so much. The devil, they made you a bargain. You're supposed to overcome that, hero. You're supposed to overcome all of that bullshit, hero. That's what cracks me up about it, man. It's like these people will continue to make excuses. It's like you making an excuse now for this girl making a deal with the devil? What's wrong with y'all? How do y'all, like, live with yourselves, man? Riri is a villain. Just lock in. If Marvel is smart, hey, if I was Marvel, I would make her a straight up villain. She is going to be a villain, and we're about to watch her go down. That would be interesting. All right. That would be interesting. Way more interesting than what they've done with the character right now. But yeah, here's another one of these TikTok videos where they're going to try to explain all of this shit away and try to make it make sense, even though the show makes absolutely no sense. Trying to tie all of these random loose threads together. Like, honestly, these people would be better writers than the ones Marvel have because they do such a good job of coping and trying to connect all these dots and carry all of this bullshit through, even though none of it makes any damn sense. But yeah, let's go ahead. Let's watch this out real quick.
One of my favorite things that the show did was establish a parallel very early on between Parker and Riri. And that of course leads to the end where Riri accepts Mephisto's proposition. Because throughout the show, we're watching through the lens of Riri, who we know is a good person that's just doing bad things. However, the show makes us grab.
Hold on. How do we know that Riri is a good person just doing bad things? How do we know she's a good person at all? Where's the evidence of her goodness? That she's polite to people? All kinds of evil people are polite. How do we know? She joins a criminal organization. Like I said already, instead of using her intelligence in an intelligent legal way, she decides to, use it for crime. She's selfish. She's got a big, gigantic fucking ego. Like, how is any of this a good person? If you knew somebody like Riri Williams in real life, you would probably hate her. If you knew Riri Williams, somebody that was exactly like the person that you saw on this show, you would think, yeah, man, this is somebody I don't really want to know. All right. Yeah, there's zero reasons that you could say that Riri is a good person, but anyway.
Grapple with why we can extend this grace to Riri just because we know her a little bit more intimately than we do Parker. And that's why one of my favorite scenes is when Parker admits that he's physically hurting without the hood, that he needs the hood. And we hear Riri say that she knows. So despite Riri not having this hood, her metaphorical hood is the attachment to Gary and Natalie. Riri not being able to grasp what happened and accept that Gary and Natalie are gone is what led to the creation of this AI. And this is just
you see, that's what I'm talking about. Like, they're going to say, well, it's the grief. It's all this black grief that Riri was dealing with. That's why she became the person that she was. Instead of just saying, you know what, Riri needs to go to some counseling. Riri needs to go to the counseling and sit on somebody's couch and talk it out. Instead of using all of her abilities and intelligence and everything for a life of crime, destroying the lives of all kinds of people in Chicago. Nope. I'm just going to go ahead and play it all out with this AI and with the hood and with all of this crime instead of doing the right thing and saying, yo, you know what? I need to get some help. I haven't dealt with the grief of the loss of my loved ones. I got to go get some help. All right. But instead, Zeke Stain ends up in jail because of Riri. He turns himself into a cyborg. A couple of people died. All right. And she lied her way through this entire show. And then she made a deal with the fucking devil. Like, I'm sorry, man.
Great work on their part because this is established in Wakanda Forever. The story of Wakanda Forever is already pretty somber for Shuri dealing with the death of T'Challa and then her mother. But we learn along the way about Gary. So for them to not only link it back to Wakanda Forever, but then also introduce this mystical element, it tied it in seamlessly for me. It gave the street...
Look, they hoping this. Look, all of these weirdos are hoping this Strange Academy shit happens. It's not happening. All right, it's not happening. There is zero interest in this shit. This little weird ass black chick here as well, the big head. What's her face? I forgot her name already. Zelma, right? Zelma. Yeah, this shit ain't happening either. Okay, fuck, man. Like, y'all need to close the chapter on this real quick, Marvel. This ain't going nowhere good.
Level vibe that everyone's usually asking for, and then linked in that inherent mystical element that the MCU has. And it's not just exclusive to the MCU. As we see, they introduced a character from Strange Academy, which is a comic run that I tuned into like a couple years ago, and I did not expect a character from Strange Academy to be in this show. However, the inclusion of Zelma not only made it so that the magic part of the show made more sense, but that we also got an introduction to another younger character. And I do love...
None of this shit made sense. All right. There was absolutely no sense in anything that they were doing. Zelma being introduced, magic, the way they used magic in this show didn't make any damn sense. The fact that they're trying to infuse magic with technology is interesting. It's an interesting in concept. It is absolutely god-awful in execution. Nothing worked here, But yeah, again, you got people out here trying to explain it away, trying to make it all make sense. None of it makes sense. Riri's a villain. She sold her soul to the devil. We're done here. And anybody trying to justify this silly shit, yo, y'all got to get some help yourselves, man. Go sit on somebody's couch and get some help because y'all ain't making sense at this point. This is why the MCU is going in the direction that it's going, because you're hiring people writing this bullshit. Get away from the witchcraft. It's something you touch on briefly and then you move on from it. You don't make show after show after show after show after show talking about it because people really ain't rocking with the witchcraft like that. It's something you just touch on. Oh, this is interesting. We'll introduce some magic into Marvel. We'll introduce some witchcraft. We'll do some stuff with Doctor Strange. We'll do some stuff and then we're going to move on. All right. Having them fight like Mephisto would have been great, but that they really didn't fight Mephisto. So again, all of this stuff just doesn't make any damn sense to me. I don't think the audiences liked it. The execution was poor. Some good ideas. I'm not saying that all the ideas that they tried to introduce in this, like the magic and technology blended together, there could be something with that. But even the way they had Riri do it, she just learns it and then she just does it. All right. And then she just makes a deal with the devil and then that's that. It's like, what? Anyway, y'all, look, this show is going to continue to drop. All right, let's do a refresh, see where we at. Still 50%. Yeah, I think it's going to get down into the 40s before too long. You know, forget the shills. The shills are going to like whatever Marvel puts out because they're well paid. All right. But the audiences who are not well paid and feel like they're wasting their damn time, they're just checking out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But yeah, if you guys want to do a season 2 Marvel, hey, I'm down. All right. I'm down. I already saw season 1. Can't get possibly worse, can it? Maybe it can. But anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think about this, man. Look, I feel like right now, with all of this stuff, black grief, you know, kind of being in the news, we need to really talk about like, hey, let's get like some smart ideas about how to deal with grief instead of, you know, throwing it away on black magic and crime and all kind of other bullshit and then trying to say, well, I'm just a poor little black kid. I didn't know what I was doing. Mephisto got to me. You know, there's going to be some people in real life talking about the devil made them do it or some shit, man. Real talk, man. There's idiots out there that will say that dumb shit and believe it. All right, just like the idiots in this video. But anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think. Jump down in the comments. Give me your thoughts and opinions on that. Thanks for watching. See you next time.